Woo. Okay. Bruisers. Wow. I know me. Telling anybody about bruiser stuff was crazy. Actually, if you know you would know that this is what I do for a living, basically. I did change a couple of this. This is a lot of if you've been in any of my bruiser clinics before, this is generally the same stuff. I did remove some stuff because we don't grit walk anymore. Because RIP grit. Um, but war opening. I'm just going to explain a little bit of like what you're doing in the beginning of the war, like what you're trying to do, and whatnot. The biggest thing is pushing to the top of the point and working on your Deado charge. Because the first thing that you want to do is make sure you have Deado, because if you have Deado, that means we can crash. If you don't have Deado, then we can't crash. Um, so don't stop at the bottom of the point, because the enemy is trying to do the same thing that we're doing, so they're pushing to their top of the point. So if we keep the fight at the bottom of the point, we're consistently losing. I'm going to reiterate that a couple times, but so one, work to the top of the point. Two, you want to work your quads. So once you get up far enough and the army's kind of pulling itself up, then you can kind of like reset and get back into your quads, start fighting. And so the biggest thing is always trying to keep the fight above the 50% line of the point. So if we're fighting below that, we're losing. That's just the biggest thing, is like if we're consistently getting pushed back, we lose. So once you get there, the biggest thing is you're playing the edge of your quad, so you're passively ticking point. If our quad bruisers aren't stepping the point, we're not going to generate point tick, which means that we can't win. The biggest thing, and this one right here, this is only get off the point when you 100% have to. I still think this is the case, but I could also see a difference in like attack and defense. Like we have to generate point tick. Meta hasn't changed, so I'm not gonna change this. So you're only getting off point if you need to. Like 100% have to. Like if you don't hop off, you're dead kind of situation. Always look for other places to play. Keep your regions and fire pots on cooldown and play in sacreds, because if you have your regen and your fire pots going, one, you'll have fortifying toast going, which means you'll have some fortify, plus your regens will be passively healing you, and if you're in a sacred, you're also gaining healing, which means you're harder to kill. So,
And fortify.
and then, what, Flashy?
And fortify.
True. Once you have Deado, wait for Crash Call. The biggest thing about main ball, and this goes for bruisers and IGVGs and flail users, is that for the majority of everything, your heart runes are basically the shot caller's heart runes. And I probably will, you'll hear me say it at some point, that your heart runes, or your Deados, are my Deados. This kind of goes for like vines, unless you find like one that's of value. I mean, there are always different values for those, but we're not going to go over that. So the biggest thing is like the first crash call. It might not always have Deado. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It could be an ability crash. But the biggest thing is like knowing what to do in the 3-2-1, and I'll go over that a couple times today, but this is just the first one. So it's just you know, we're going to crash top left in 3, okay? Well, I'm looking towards top left. I'm dropping everything I'm doing, and I'm looking top left to see how to get there. Top left in 2, okay? I'm starting to move towards this crash. I need to find a spot that's not going to get me body blocked. I need to crash from my quad if I can. And then, you know, top left in 1, I'm popping my cleanse. I'm throwing everything I have, basically. By the time I'm getting to the point where I'm saying crash top left, like you guys should have already been doing it. It's more of just me reiterating it. The biggest thing is right after that, right after your Deado is done, you are gone. And I do want to just clarify this. Just because I want you to crash in a spot does not mean that I want you to throw yourself in the middle of the clump. That will get you killed. So, edging is good. Playing on the edge of the crash, because Deado has a 5-meter radius. It's quite large, so you can play on the edge. And then yeah, once your combo's done, you're declumping, and then you're finding a way to your quad. The biggest thing that I want to reiterate to people is when you're declumping, don't ever declump the way that you went in. because more than likely there's people in that spot and you will not get through. So find an alternate route. While you're throwing your combo, you should be able to start spotting out exits. So, but that takes a lot of practice. So I'll show an opening. Oh, I didn't even realize I had this on here still.
You hear him?
I'm gonna go wide.
10 seconds.
Yeah, looks like
Sacred
9
and
10 or
Grab
Going
it.
to a
Default
shock.
Apple.
Resending. So the biggest thing here is just
She goes
noticing
SpongeBob.
that we've brought the fight up to the top,
Top left,
and they're
right.
kind of doing the
Our
same.
quad is heavy.
They're doing it a little slower than we are, but that's
Sacred
generally
top
what
left.
we're doing.
Usually.
Alright, Halo's
10.
careful right
Left.
side. I don't see-
I'm not gonna let that keep playing because I don't think it stops. But more than you're going up, you're coming up here, and it'd be the other way around. So you'd be, let me pull this. So instead of like right here, you'd be up here. And then you would, work your way down your quad, or you'd be like maybe right here, and then you work into this. The biggest thing is always consistently trying to take space. So winning the point is consistently about taking space and holding space. Because if you can't successfully take space and hold your space, then you can't win the point because you have to have a majority of players on there. And if they're winning the space and you aren't, technically we're losing. So
You
there
hear
are
him?
other ways.
I'm gonna go
wide. I literally just clicked. Okay, downtime, which is about 90% of the war. It's anything that's not a crash. The biggest thing in downtime is playing your quad around the edge of the point. Keep your pots up. All you're really doing in this downtime is you're playing your life. You're making sure that your consumes are going. You're pressuring people off of point. You're working with your other bruiser and your support to try to just pressure these people off point. Because again, if we have the majority of the people on the point, that means we win. So calling out targets. So, flashy's low top right, flashy's low top right. And then you just consistently calling people out. The biggest thing is if you consistently call people out, like if you were to just pick a couple people that hey, these guys are squishy, and you watch them in your quad, and anytime they touch your quad, sorry, my internet's also going a little wonky. Anytime that they kind of like re-entered your quad, you pressured them back out, you get in their head. A lot of what we did last meta, which, I'm going to go all of this is going off of how we used to play because we don't really have anything else to go off right now. So pressuring people off. So if I pressured somebody off, top right, and they went out half HP, well, we're not going to hop off the point because effectively we've already won. They're off the point, which means we have more numbers. When they come back on and maybe they come in like mid right, we would immediately hop back on them and get in their head about, yo, I can't even hop on point. Like they immediately jump me. You keep doing that and you get in people's heads and then they don't want to step. Or they have to go all the way around and they waste more time off point, which effectively wins us more tick. The big thing is you have to work together to push people off your quad or out of your quad. You may do a little bit less of this just because a lot of it more is playing life where, we're buying time to gain space, to crash and whatnot. But the big thing is if you win your quad and no one's in it, don't stay there. So say we won top right. There's nobody top right. Don't stay there. Go top left. Push your advantage. Because staying in that quad doesn't win us anything else. Even if we've won it, that means somewhere else is probably losing, which you need to help. So helping, top left or bot right, generally those are the only two you'd really touch, is a good idea. But the biggest thing is always keeping an eye on like if people go back in your quad, because your quad is basically your job to take care of. It's your job to make sure that they're not there, and that you're pushing them out. So another thing is if your quad is overrun and you're not winning it, give the space. So if you are outnumbered and say, Tex and myself are playing top right and we're playing against 5 people, we're effectively already outnumbered and we're losing. So giving up that space and going to, top left or bot right, just to regroup is a good idea. So give the space if you're consistently outnumbered massively, give the space, go to another spot on point. So, and if you give the space and you leave top right, the enemy people playing in top right, they're not going to stay there because they're going to push advantage. They're going to do the same thing that they're supposed to be doing, and they're going to leave. And if they don't, they're one, doing something wrong, and two, once you can get reinforced, you just go back up there and you push them off. So beware of your surroundings, especially when you're going into another quad, because when you're going into another quad, you are also basically clumping up into that quadrant, which can easily get you crashed on. So just be very careful. The biggest thing that you can notice when you're going to get crashed on is the entire point. Like, everyone on the point immediately turns and starts moving towards your area. A big thing is watching what's going on around you and not getting super clumped up with people. You kind of want to like play loose. Keep an eye out for exits. Don't get yourself body blocked in blues or reds. Don't jump into fights where you're 1v5 because it's not going to do anything. It's just a losing battle. And don't play outside of Sacred because Sacreds are good. So if you don't see a Sacred, ask for a Sacred. I just said that. So if you're playing outside of a Sacred, or like you don't have one, ask for it. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is what they say, Sacred in 2, or, not the second. So a big thing is like if you're playing top right, can I get a Sacred top right? Okay, well, you might have to play your life for a second because your Halo may not have it up right at the moment, but in a moment that you should be able to get one there. Pot usage. The big thing with pot usage is consistently making sure that your regens and your fire pots are on cooldown. The biggest thing is that, like, if you can master tiny little micro, like, your pot usage, your stam management, and just general knowledge of your weapons, you'll see a significant difference in gameplay. But the biggest thing is just like if you have your regen and your fire pots going, one, you're taking less fire damage. Two, you're mitigating some of the damage coming towards you because you're passively healing. So it's another form of mitigation. Plus, you get fortify if you have fortifying toast on your ring. If you play in the Sacred with your pots active, you will be harder to kill. But again, don't 1v10. If you're outnumbered, move. It's not a good idea to play outnumbered. Find another spot to play. Play as blues. Just play loose. Another thing is, the faster you farm your Deado, the faster we can crash as an army. So just like the faster that we can get Deado, the more often we can crash, which also allows us to possibly kill more and get them off sync so they're, out of sync. But after you crash, you have to declump. You have to, unless I call otherwise, or another shot caller says otherwise and tells you to stay in, you have to leave. But right after that, you're tossing your Warhammer cooldowns, you're throwing a Great Axe combo, depending on when the next crash is. If you just crashed, generally it's going to be a bit, so you have to build Deado anyways, so you might as well throw those combos anyways. But if we can have Deados faster than the other team, we can crash more often, and crashing more often means more kills, and more kills means more tick, which means we're passively winning and they're losing. So if we can crash more and we win them more often, then effectively we would win. I saw Flashy unmute. I got scared.
No, I'm just here to learn.
Okay. Flashy's Bruiser.
Flash.
play as a bruiser duo, not as two solo bruisers. So the biggest thing here, and I know we're not as tanky as we used to be as bruisers, but we are still more effective playing together than we are separate. So we will do more damage together, which means we can pressure people off and gain more tick faster. But also, when a healer casts a DE and you're below a certain amount, it can rebound to your other bruiser, which means that your healer would also have less stress on them. But it's just like, I mean, it's kind of cringe, but bruisers together strong. Like, legitimately, when we are playing together as multiple bruiser units instead of 11 separate bruisers, we are much stronger than the enemy team, especially if they're not doing that, because we're doing it well. So the better we can do it working with our other half, the better we would work as an army. And that's just like the first step to being a better main ball, really, is working together. So like if we win a recrash and all of us bruisers have been playing together and we know what to do, we can push advantage as a wall and zerg around the point and just literally rack up kills. That's the biggest thing, is like being able to zerg as an army and know how to do that efficiently is going to help a ton. A lot of the best armies will do that, and they do it better than the other army, and that's why they win. I don't know if this last statement is true because I haven't played Bruiser as of this patch. Two Bruisers, I assume, is probably still the same. Two Bruisers are not able to wipe clumps as they used to anymore. I used to be able to work with my other Bruiser and wipe 15, 20 people. We can't do that anymore. Not possible. So that doesn't mean you're not dangerous, because if 11 Bruisers and our supports all crash, we can still be just as dangerous. It just takes a lot more work. This meta is a lot more army-wide than it is, all-star players. All right. Pressure, push, and pull. What does this mean? So the big thing here is, to earn tick, you have to have the majority of the players on the point. So how do we do this? We either get kills or we push players off. Well, how do you push players off? The biggest thing is, and I ignore some of this on the screen, I needed to edit a lot of this, but the biggest thing is pressuring people off of point is making them scared of you by dealing enough damage to push them out because they don't think that they can stay there. We used to play back to flag. I don't know if this is going to stay the same. I think it's going to be a more out to in, so you're going to play outside and you're going to push them into the pressure. But the biggest thing is that you want to not get pushed off the point. So the biggest thing is, if you're getting pressured off the point, find somewhere else to stand. And do the same to the enemy bruiser, is you want to try to push them off. Or you want to try to kill them. You're not going to push people off solo. This is why we play as duos. It works. It's more efficient. Just about to say something, but I forgot. So if we're not pushing people off point, or we're not getting kills effectively, we're not going to win. That's generally how this works. So a lot of it's just like pushing players off point and knowing when you have to adjust yourself so you're not the one getting pushed off point.
It's okay to step off every once in a while too, like you were saying earlier. Right now, like a big thing that I've seen a lot of top bruisers do versus people that are just learning is, especially on crashes, step off and find an outside angle potentially to body block them in, because you can basically then cause them to die in the crash because they can't declump.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean,
so
that's
make sure
kind
you're
of
looking for angles like that into your crashes, going in and off of the point if need be for that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's kind of always been a thing. I'm going to go over more of that later, but for here, how to enter point off respawn. So I feel like most people would think that this is kind of self-explanatory, but it's actually a lot more complex than people think. When respawning, don't W key to the bottom of the point. It's not a good idea. One, their top of the point is generally going to be their top quads and their point players. So some of the best players are going to be on their top, which is our bottom, and if they see you coming in, they're just going to focus you and you're going to die. Coming into the bottom of the point off of respawn is not a good idea. So generally this will get you killed. The biggest thing here is wrap wide enough to get into the point, but also close enough to where the kill squad doesn't jump you. Because if you go in and you're running into, G8 lane or, middle of G8, G9 lane and you're getting fucking stomped by some spear who's CC chaining you because you don't have grit, don't do that. The biggest thing is you want to avoid pressure. You want to wrap in, but you also want to avoid conflict. So you have to know the difference between wrapping wide and wrapping close. So it's kind of situational based on where the conflict is going on. More than likely, the biggest thing is always default to finding the fastest way to get to the top of the point and then adjust yourself from there. Watch where the pressure is going and just try to slip in. If you cleanse, you can almost get through anything, so just cleanse if you have to. It's okay to do that. And then when you're re-entering the point on respawn, be careful and play loose, because if respawns just hit and you die, you're on a longer respawn cooldown, which means that you have effectively not really done anything because you're dead. So be careful. If you just respawned, that means that respawns are going to be longer than they were before. So, play live. Playing life. Wow, that's crazy. I just said that. If your healer's down or being pressured, chances are you're not getting a heal, which once healers kind of understand what they need to be calling out, most healers will be like, yo, I'm getting pressured. I can't. No heals, no heals. Or, I'm dead. Play live. What does this mean? It means make sure your pots are going and to avoid pressure. So this is the best case scenario, or this is where I was talking about earlier. Don't jump into 1v5 battles. Just dance around the point, find places to step, sacred hop. The big thing here is don't run away from point into Narnia. Why? Because when you leave point into kill squad lane and you have low HP and no heals, you are a prime target for Flashy to light your ass up. It wouldn't actually be Flashy, but I like using Flashy as reference.
No, it would be me.
Yeah.
He'll call you out.
Yeah, you will get called out by the kill squad that is closest to you or the quad DPS, because that's what they want to find. Easy picks like that means that they can continue winning. So you want to play near point, sacred hop, fuck what quad you're in. If when your healer's dead or your healer's being pressured and you can't get heals, do not worry about the fact that you are the bot right quad. It does not fucking matter. Go somewhere else on the point, find somewhere to stand, jump from sacred to sacred. If you're playing with blues, more than likely you can catch a rebound heal or a healer will try to heal you. The biggest thing, and I cannot say this anymore, do not stam yourself. Do not. When you do not have a healer and your healer's being pressured and you're getting low, do not stam out. When you are in this situation where you don't have a healer or your healer's being pressured and you're not going to get a heal, your stamina bar is now the last of your health bar. It's any protection you have left because you can iframe things. And that is why you don't want to stam out. You want to kind of use them judgingly. Do not stam out unless you 100% know that your healer is going to get you a heal on time. If I knew that my healer's coming up, they're almost in range and there's 5 people around me, and if I don't triple dodge right now, I'm dead. then I'll do it. But more than likely, you do not want to stam out. So, also listen to respawns, because if you're going to die when the respawn caller says 5. This will guarantee you hit respawns and get back ASAP. This is why respawn calls are very useful, because you know when you can die and when you can respawn faster. Because ultimately, if you're gonna die, I'd rather you die before a respawn hits so you can spawn back and affect the fight instead of being on a 30-second cooldown.
I assume that respawn tip just goes for any role you're playing.
Yes, this will go for anything. But yeah.
It also helps to not split our respawns, which can cause further time issues than just one person being
Right.
there for the respawn wave.
If 1/4 of my army dies after a respawn hits, I can't do anything until they're all back, really. I mean, I can try it, but probably won't work. So we got to keep people together and alive. So communication. This is a big one for bruisers, because you guys are the main damage dealers in my army, even though you don't feel like it sometimes. So the biggest thing is, like, what are we communicating? As a bruiser, what am I going to communicate? Well, the biggest thing is, where are you playing? I'm playing top right. I'm in a sacred top right. Where are you looking to move? Top right's heavy. I'm going top left. Combos. When you have your combo up, let your other bruiser know, I have a full grav combo ready to go. What is your Dedo charge? Dedo's at 95 or Dedo's at 70. Abilities. I'm shocking top right. Flashy's armor breaker top right. Just letting people know what's going on. In the early stages of playing, and this goes for all rules, the more info you give your team, the more the army has, and the more you as a 5-man knows what everybody has, so you can work together. So, like, if your IGVG went, I have vines, or everything screams top right, then you guys know that you could also affect that. The biggest thing is, and this goes for everybody, is there's no such thing as too much information until you understand what information is good and what's not. Like, ultimately, I'd rather have too much information than not enough information. So,
I have a question about comms.
Yeah, go ahead.
The shot caller, we can hear them. Can they hear everyone in the group as well, or can they just hear their main group that they're in?
So, when I am in point comms, I can hear all of point.
Okay.
And if you set it up, anybody in the army can set up a whisper directly to me to give me information.
Okay.
So,
At least one person in every group at the minimum should have a callback to Nova to be able to say, hey, this, or hey, that, if needed. At least one in every group, if not more.
Sounds good.
But playing separated from your bruiser, if you guys are not talking and whatnot, it's like playing with a great axe with one hand. It's not possible. So comms are very vital, especially to the type of meta that this is. It's a little bit less vital than it used to be, because you had to communicate a lot more when two bruisers were wiping entire clumps, but it's still very useful to have that kind of information. All right, Great Axe combos. Again, these will probably differ because it really depends on the situation. So, Great Axe combo, this is just general, is going to be Cleanse, Dedo. You can do them at the same time, and you can do the Cleanse after. Just keep in mind that Cleanse does have an animation again. It is not animationless, which means that you can get knocked out of it. And then you can either half heavy with your Great Axe, or you can left click if you can get it off, and then Maelstrom. When your Maelstrom and your Dedo are done, you're leaving. You're finding somewhere else to play. Do not stay in the same spot. Do not stay clumped up. Play loose. Play your life. Find somewhere to stand. Preferably on point. These will probably be more defined as we know what bruiser is going to be running, but this is what it will probably be as of now. You could also probably heavy attack instead of a light, but just know that you have to get out as fast as possible. So Warhammer combos. The big thing here is honestly there is no Warhammer combo. There is, but there isn't. Warhammer I more see as a freestyle weapon because, I mean, obviously don't path clumps, but between Armor Breaker and Shockwave, you can do it in either order. You would just cleanse Deado, half heavy, and then Shockwave or Armor Breaker, or you could do both, depending on like how much time you have. And then yeah, you just want to get out as fast as possible again. The biggest thing is unless it's a recrash, so like if they had already crashed and we recrash them and I call people to stay or, you know, zerg in that spot and stay to get kills, then that's one thing. But if we crash, we initiate the crash, that means that they still have their deados, they still have everything ready to go, which means more than likely they're going to crash on us, which means we die. So that's why we get out. Crashes. I'm just going to go over general, like what is a crash? Like what am I looking to do? Like what does this mean? Well, crashes is the ultimate goal is to combine damage to secure kills. So it's initiated by the point team through the shot caller. Some shot callers go off the point team if their bruisers are knowledgeable enough, but more than likely it'll be the shot caller, and it's called by, you know, looking to crash. We're looking for a crash. We're gonna crash top right in 3, top right in 2, top right in 1, and it's the same thing. It's 3. We're looking the direction it's called. 2, position towards the crash location and start moving. 1, you're popping cleanse and getting active. You're throwing your grav combo. You're throwing your Warhammer cooldowns, and then you're getting out of there. So specifically for Bruiser, what does this mean? Like, what am I doing? So again, the crash is called, we're gonna crash bot left in 3, bot left in 2, bot left in 1. Well, the biggest thing that goes through your head when you hear I'm looking for a crash that you should be thinking is my healer alive? Is my healer up? Is my healer being pressured? Can I get away with this and still get heals? If yes, you're going through with your combo. If no, you're playing life and you're dogging low HP targets, leaving the crash or the collapse, which are the same thing. So, if you do not have a healer, don't jump in there. More than likely, you're going to die. It's not safe. I would rather you be alive and living, taking my point, than not. So, counter crashes. They're generally the same thing, other than the original goal is to avoid dying and then securing the kills afterwards. So this is in response to an enemy crash. So when an enemy crashes, the shot caller, sometimes if we have descend, we will recrash it. And it'll be like, we were going to recrash top left in 3, top left in 2, top left in 1. And the biggest thing here is avoiding the initial crash by declumping. Not playing clumped up. If they see us clumped and they start to crash, we need to declump immediately. And then immediately returning to crash. So watch for bait abilities, or watch for baits. The big thing here is good armies will bait crashes by looking like there's a crash going on, but there's not. So just watch the point. Again, this is an awareness thing, is watching what's going on around you, watching to see who's moving, who's not, who's all looking in one direction. And then count abilities. So count how many gravs go out. If there's only 2 gravs, that's a little sus. It might not be a crash. So just being very careful about what's going on around you and not getting baited. I think this is a counter crash?
His left side. Look at left side in 3. Look at his bot left in 2. His left side. Look at left side in 3. Look at his bot left in 2. Ball left now. Ball left. 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 No! Oh my God! That was a nuke! Holy ball left.
So that effectively is exactly what we're aiming to do: is kill everyone in the crash. And this goes for bruisers, IGVGs, flails. You all have a part to play in a crash. And everyone on board and in the right position can make this happen every single time.
His left side. Look at left side.
Me to do that. Why can't I click the screen without clicking it? Declumping and spreading. The goal, avoid getting crashed on and avoid dying. Enemy looks for clumps to crash because they want the most value out of their crash. Successful declump means that they have an unsuccessful enemy crash, which means, you know, if you guys are declumping, you guys are playing loose and they can't crash on you, they don't have a crash, which means that they lose it and we can recrash. So spread out and declump quickly. You have to do it fast. Like, I'm talking like the minute your maelstrom's up, those people on the other side, they're already sending their combos. Like, if you stay there half a second to a second, like, don't even throw an extra left click in there. Like, it's not going to do anything. Just leave. Like, you got to get out fast. It's pretty split second. So, big thing is declumping. It's very valuable. Crashing effectively. Crashes have to be quick and coordinated. So, if I say top right and they're all top right, we have to make sure we have to do it at the precise time that I say it. Like, your Dedo should be going when I say, you know, top right and 1. When I say 1, your Dedo should already be going. Like, you should have already clicked. Right there. Clicked. Done. So, dumping the combos and immediately spreading. So, we cannot get crashed on again. If you are late or you do not have a combo, do not go in the crash. You are a liability. 1, you're not providing anything to this crash. 2, you are more valuable on the point just standing than you are to that crash. So stand on the point, help us tick it, don't die. So this is kind of what it looks like. You know, these are the quads, you know, top left, top right, bot left. This is kind of how they're played. Ignore these. I don't remember what those are when I made this. So the healers, ideally, when we want to push the pressure top, so the healers can step bottom. So this is a crash, you know, top right and 3, top right and 2, top right and 1. So the crash is here, point team's here. Effectively, this is what you would want your crash to look like. Everything is surrounded. And while you guys are crashing, the healers step in the bottom. So you generate more point tick because their healers can't step on the bottom of point for them because that's where you're crashing. So boxing them in, making sure there's nowhere for them to go through, and then declumping. Back to your quads. So you go back to this. Does anybody have any questions on this? Or anything about the previous stuff before I go to the next? I think that was the last one here. So I have this. I just wanted to go over this really quick, just so people understand, like, quadrants. So the enemy fort and the enemy road, this is purely on attack. So this is attack, and like this is if we're attacking. So our road is here, enemy road is here, and then depending on where we're at, we'll say that this is Bon, because we're on B, this is Bonfire. So this would be top left, the purple's top left, pink is top right, and then orange would be bot left, and bot right would be green. This is kind of what it looks like, more or less. And then strong side will always be the side that we are trying to take at the end. So it's the side that the enemy is also defending. So if C is over here, we're just going to say C is over here. This means that this is our strong side. But if they were defending A, right, these would swap. Effectively, the strong side is the side that we're going to have to fight for to get the other point. So, but you'll more than hear me say by bonfire or bond side or oppo bond. So like on B, this is bond side and this would be oppo bond, but on C point, oppo bond is on the other side and bond side is over here. So it's just wherever this bonfire is. I'm not going to go over like kill squads and whatnot because That's not what I was aiming to do here. So, but I just wanted everybody to kind of understand like what the quads were, just so people had a better understanding of like what I meant by, you know, different quadrants. So it's always by the enemy road. So the enemy road is always top of point and our road is always bottom. And then like if this was defense, it'd be the same thing. So their road and us with the fort here, our road. So I was going to just visualize. I'm going to show you guys kind of what I meant by coming in through different spots on the point. So if, let's just say there's a crash going here and there's pressure. I don't know, people are fighting over here. And you just respawned. So this is a good example of don't come here, because if this is their top, that means the enemy pressure is coming towards you, and you never want to head on direct into this pressure. So the big thing here is you want to wrap in. So this, you would go around, and then you could hit the pressure from behind, because if you're hitting it from an angle that it's not coming from, effectively you're already at an advantage. So I just wanted to kind of show this wrapping so you guys could kind of understand what I meant by that, because I didn't show it before. It's just choosing different angles. If you have to wrap further, you can, but just a lot of wrapping. Does everybody understand what I mean by the wrapping? This goes for almost all roles. It's not just Bruiser.
The big on the wrapping too is make sure to avoid the kill squad lane.
Right.
Where they're fighting, like you were saying earlier, because on this, hypothetically, if 7 is in that fight, if their 7 has won the fight hard, they may decide to poke your ass as you're running onto point, and then you're still kind of at a disadvantage.
Right.
So just be cautious of those.
Completely situational based on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So. All right, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to play a VOD so people can listen to some comms and see like how Bruiser kind of functions. Ignore the grit walking because we can't do that anymore, but I just wanted people to see some comms, kind of see where you needed to play, and then kind of like how a Bruiser duo works, like how group comms kind of work. So if anybody has any questions, this would be the best time to do it. I'm going to go ahead and start this VOD really quick, and you guys can, we're not going to watch the whole thing, probably just like the first few minutes. So feel free to stop me if you have any questions. So also, I don't understand why the quality is so absolutely dog shit, but can everybody hear this, by the way?
Grabbing bot center right now.
I'm rapping
Yep.
to
Okay.
like
One of our right.
red
They're
point.
getting bottom right now.
Careful on this bottom.
Yeah, I'm playing second ball right. I'm playing bot center, ball right. Maybe
Yo, they're all shotgun mid right. They're all shotgun mid.
Have to do better. Have to do better.
They're screening on mid right.
Yeah, shotgun mid right. I'm playing. I'm trying to play midline down.
10 seconds.
Bringing on mid right right now. Do it. Pushing cover from mid right.
Right.
Yeah.
Goes left side. Goes left
Three right
side.
side, right side. I've got almost out. Grabbing mid right.
Nova.
Lays it.
Yes.
Jump's still incredibly effective for the grabs for all of the bruisers, etc. Are jumps still effective for
Yes,
getting out of
you're
grabs for
still,
the
but you're
bruisers?
still rooted in place for a couple seconds. The jumps are effective though.
Okay. I wanted to
Not
make
as
sure
not
for
as much as they
myself.
used to be, but they still are. I would still jump out of a grav. Shot for you. Shot in here. Shot in here.
One in the right.
They're top. They're heavy bot. They're heavy bot.
Should be 2 1 HP right. I shot top center. Shot top center.
Careful on this left
I've
side.
got it ready. Let him watching right. AB.
I have vines and everything.
Watching is your top center.
Screen top, Mojingus.
You got to take for top. Top right. I'm gonna play top right.
Get ready, guys. Get ready. We got this. We're going to
Careful, they're heavy on right. They're heavy on right. Careful.
Get playing second ball right.
Screen on right.
Everything ball left. 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 Nice, those
I'm
spreads.
vining right. I'm vining right just to hold them.
Spread.
Spread. Pull top right. Top right.
Didn't join that crash because I was almost dead. So
Left side. I've got the left side. Left. Look at the red. Look at I'm gonna fuck heavy tree.
Hold right. Just hold them right.
I'm gonna fuck right top right.
what? David?
Shock top right now.
Careful, get out of top left, get out of top left, get
Should
out of
play top
top left,
right,
get out of top left.
They're all.
top right.
There's a shark
Get out
top
top left,
right.
get out top
Yeah,
left.
grab me.
I'm a shark top mid.
Had to do top center now.
I think you're about right.
4, 3, 2,
EB
Right
top
side,
right.
for
Con
left.
AB
Top
top.
right. Figure plus cleanse here a little bit.
Seconds.
Second off,
Top.
I'm playing top right. Okay, top right right now.
Don't step bottom, guys. Step
Pulling
top.
top right.
Don't step bottom, step top. We're gonna
There's
set,
Sharon on
guys.
top
We're
right.
gonna set.
Yeah,
Get ready
Sharon
for
better
it.
on
We're
us.
gonna set. We're gonna set.
Yeah.
We're gonna set
All
right.
the
Bottom
Talking.
right. Get ready
Talking.
for
All
it.
beat, all beat, all beat.
They're all screaming. They're all screaming.
Funds.
Right.
Get ready, get ready, get ready.
5, 4,
One bottom,
Crushing
bottom,
right.
bottom, bottom, bottom. On flag, 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 on flag.
Get out. Get out. Pull top. Pull
Nice,
top. Pull top.
guys.
Pull
Good
top.
job.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Spread,
pull out.
spread,
Top.
spread,
Oh, I got
spread.
I'm really yelling at
Spread,
myself for that one.
spread,
Because I think I'm
spread,
dead.
spread. Bait,
Top
bottom
right.
right, careful bottom right, careful bottom right.
seconds.
Had to do top
Bottom
center
right,
now.
careful bottom right.
Ready for split, ready for
Only on
split.
this left side in 3.
The biggest thing I'm trying to show here is, I'm going to go back a little bit really quick, is nice, nice.
Yeah,
Get
pull
out.
out.
Top.
Just looking about the fact that we've brought our fight and we're fighting top more than most of the time, like all the way up here, brings our all of our fights up and gives the healers areas to cast. You'll even notice that some of them come in and step here when they come up. Gives us an advantage, and that's why we're winning.
Get out. Get out. Get out. They're sending. They're sending. They're sending.
I stand myself because I'm an idiot.
You died at the right time, though.
It's
Got
true.
a vines on top right. Screen.
Insta respawns.
10 seconds. Calculated.
Try to pull top and move it left. Try to pull top and move it left.
4, 3,
The nice part about respawning from like one of the points is that it's not necessarily the bottom of point, so me coming in straight off the edge ends up working out because nobody's looking in that direction.
Scream on Bojinga's top right.
Yeah.
Get ready for on this bottom. On flag in 3.
I've got to go, guys, but thank you for the review.
Get
Yeah,
out.
sounds
Get
good.
out. Get out. Get out.
Good stuff.
See ya.
Later.
Talking mid
They're
right.
gonna. They have their own. They have their own. They have their own. Careful.
Just swing it right, swing it right.
They still have sand. They still have their own.
Let it get right.
4, 3,
If he has bishop, bot middle, right?
1.
Look
Chucking
at
flag.
Bot left.
Getting out of this.
Crush left. Crush left. They're all vines.
Hold the 10, hold the 10.
Moving in the top.
4, 3,
Hold the 3, hold the 3.
1. Response now. 20 seconds.
Playing
I'm
top
top
right.
right, yeah, I'm top right as well.
Got it back line, almost flat.
Touching in the mid right.
Thank you.
Kinda help.
I don't
Pass
remember
on
that
top.
lucky. I'm way back.
3,
I have Shara on top right.
1.
Take your bottom right.
30 seconds.
On the left, just counting it.
Yo, get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Go.
Sharpen left, sharpen left.
Top right.
I'm back
We're
on
not
top
getting enough on
right.
crashes.
Remember, we have to check in these rounds for the bottom crashes.
Yeah,
He's getting it for free right now.
I have Shara on top right. He's Shara. Scream.
I'm sharpen right now. Let
I'm sharking mid right as well. I'm here with you, right here with you.
Scream on top right.
Yep, same.
Scream top right.
He's AB'd.
3,
Mount getting out of top.
1.
You're ready for
Now. 20 seconds.
Super, they're crushing shot, please.
Careful right side. They're double crashing. Careful. We're gonna split off that.
They're splitting.
Pull right.
But I'm not gonna play too much. But you guys kind of have a general understanding of how like group comms work and what crashes kind of look like, even though my perspective is probably trash. So, but yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Other than that, you guys are free. So, unless you guys have questions. Oh, really quickly. And I know this was stated in Tex's review. I don't have it on here, but I just wanted to clarify that when you click Deado, the rend from your Deado is built into the speed boost and the damage boost to your buff, and it cannot be cleansed. This was tested earlier. We just tested it earlier this morning. It's been like that for a while, but I know some people just didn't really test it. The rend cannot be cleansed, so you have to be careful.
That is very sad news.
Yeah, it's been that way since heavy meta. When you pop your Dedo, the buff on there is the little Dedo icon, and it says like the description for Dedo, and even with a cleanse or purifying heart, because it's fixed now, it does not remove the icon, which means you have permanent rend until it's over, which makes sense because Dedo is giving you a damage boost in return for you losing armor. So, but it is sad, yes. I just wanted people to understand that. I had Dusty tested earlier, and Dusty was like, "Wait a second, no, you can cleanse it." And then he tested it, and he's like, "Oh, never mind. I guess I learn things every day." So, but other than that, you guys are free to go.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
No problem.